This SOS video is about geometric explicit formulas that can model situations and help solve problems. So just as a reminder, a geometric sequence is a list of numbers that has a pattern of multiplying a constant amount to a previous term in order to create a new term. And an explicit formula is a function rule that describes a sequence and is used to find the value of any term. So when a situation increases by a percentage, it's going to be multiplied by a number instead of adding a fixed amount. When the situation increases by a percentage, it can be modeled using a geometric explicit formula. And remember that the geometric explicit formula needs a first term and the common ratio r, and the formula looks like this. So let's get started on an example. One day you saw a funny YouTube video and you decided you wanted to share it with some friends. So at 1 p.m. you shared it with 2 friends. An hour later they each shared it with 4 unique different friends, so no friends in common. If that pattern continues, that every person who receives the video, watches it, shares it with 4 unique friends within an hour, how many new people would see the video at 8 p.m.? So a good practice is to first write the explicit formula and then use that formula to answer the question. Sometimes it's easier to write the values in a table. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say that n is going to be the number of times a video is shared, and a sub n is going to be the number of new viewers. So at the beginning, you saw the video. You did not share it with anyone. Then you decided to share it with 2 friends. So there were 2 new viewers at 1 p.m. Then within an hour, each of those 2 people had shared it with 4 unique friends. So 4 and 4 is 8, or 2 times 4 is 8. And then an hour later, each of those 8 people shared it with 4 unique friends. So 8 times 4 is 32. And then another hour, each of those 32 people decided to share it with 4 new friends. There were a total of 128 viewers, new viewers. Okay, well, what happens when we see the video at 8 p.m.? First, let's write our explicit formula. We need our first term, which is 2. We need our common ratio. What did we multiply each of these by? And that was 4. And remember our formula. So our explicit formula for this situation is our first term 2 times the common ratio to the n minus 1 power. Well, what happens at 8 p.m.? So that's the 8th time that the videos are shared, and I'm letting you know that n equals 8. So a sub 8 is going to be 2 times 4, and in place of n, I'm going to put 8. So take your calculator and simply type this in. So we have 2 times 4 to the, well, 8 minus 1 is 7, so you can put to the 7th power. And we get 32,768, which means by the 8th hour, in the 8th hour, we're going to have 32,768 new viewers. And geometric sequence really expands rapidly. You can see in only 8 times that it's shared how many more new viewers that we got for that video. Okay, let's see what happens in another situation. A Super Bowl is dropped from a height of 40 feet. Each bounce is 80% the height of the previous bounce. Write the explicit formula to represent the situation. So we're going to need to find our first term, and we're going to need to find the common ratio. Well, the common ratio, we're going to multiply by 8.8, which is 80%, so 0.8. But now the first term is not 40. Remember, the ball is dropped from a height of 40 feet. And then once it bounces, the height is going to be 80% of that 40 feet. So we're really looking at, this was the height of the first bounce. And how do we get the height of the first bounce? We're going to take 40 and we'll multiply it by 80% or 0.8. And that's going to equal 32. So 32 is really the height of the first bounce, the ball after it's bounced once. Okay, so now we have enough for our explicit formula. A sub n is our first term times our common ratio to the n minus 1 power. So how high is the ball to the nearest tenth? I'm going to circle my rounding directions after the 7th bounce. So the 7th bounce, I'm telling you that n equals 7. So wherever I see n, I'm going to replace it with 7. A sub 7 is 32 times 0.8 to the 7 minus 1 power. All right, grab your calculator and let's put that in. 32 times 0.8 to the, well, 7 minus 1 is 6 to the 6th power, and we get this. So to the nearest tenth, that is 8.4. And we talked about feet, so to the nearest tenth, it's 8.4 feet. After the 7th bounce, the ball was at a height of 8.4 feet. And this is the SOS video explaining how to use geometric explicit formulas to model a situation.